Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Babe, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Are You a CPS Person Like Me with myself, Tisha, as the host, and my co-host, Akima. And tonight we're going to have on some repeat guests from Bob Pace's show from last night. And if anybody was watching the show, they were able to explain a little bit of their story. But I believe we have a mother, Shauna, and her daughter, Courtney, that are kind of going through their case in Canada. And so maybe if they want to start off with just, a little recap for people that already saw it yesterday. And then also this evening, we'll be having Mr. Davis hopefully join us. And then that way they can utilize this time to not only share their story, but then to ask them some questions and hopefully emulate their story. So I don't know, Kima, did you want to say anything before they go ahead and start in?
No, I heard them last night on Bob's show.
Okay.
I kind of listened to their story and understood what they were going through. So I'll just follow along and just, kind of just hear it out and see.
And then also real quick on that note, Akima is an attorney for CPS in the state of New York, but I just wanted to mention I'm not an attorney and I don't have any legal advice to give you, but I am a parent, a mother that has been through the system and I'm fighting. So if anything, my words of wisdom will just be from, unfortunately going through this myself and finding Mr. Davis, I feel like too late in the game. That's why I like to do as much as I can to try and get him out there for people like you that hopefully can save what ended up happening to me and a lot of other parents that are just naive and don't know this horrible system. And but Akima does have that knowledge. She is a lawyer. So anything that she might share with you too in the meantime until Mr. Davis gets here, you might want to keep that as a side note too. So I don't know who wants to start first, Courtney or Shauna, however you want to do it, but go ahead and start your story.
Courtney, you can start it if you want.
Oh, it's kind of messy. I don't really know how to think and how to process all this. I have mixed feelings with everything. I cannot like all the lies they're making, and till this day, I really want to know exactly why they really took my son. Like at first, now they're saying that my son was in danger, even though he wasn't, because they checked him. There was no bruises, no sign of neglect. Like he was well loved. I would do anything for my son. Like I'll go over the moon and the end of the world for my son.
Can I ask you a question, Courtney? Can you
Yes, you
just
may.
let our viewers, can you just give them a recap? Because I'm not sure if, there were certain people that didn't, hear your story. But what were the actual allegations and like how long has your son been removed?
Well, my son been removed of last year, October 12, 2023. It's been a little bit over a year. How it started is I gave birth to my son 2023 in August 23rd. I had complications while I was giving birth to him. I had a few seizures, and I guess the OB doctor might have had concerns, so they got a social worker from the hospital to come in, and stuff like that. She told me, my mother, that she was going to get a CPS worker to come in and stuff, which they did. The worker came in. maybe like middle of September of last year. Um,
To
Stuff
your
like
home?
that.
She came to your
At
home?
my mother's house, because that's
Okay.
where I was staying at after I gave birth, because I had preeclampsia and I was still kind of not well, and the doctor wanted me to stay with my mom for a bit to get back on my feet, which I said that'd be a good idea. She was helping me for a bit with my son to get back on my feet. Social worker came, we let her in. She asked me about my name, my phone number, my address. She asked me about the father, his name, his address, his information, which I gave it. My mother gave her information. I had support worker for disability. She was there doing her hours with me at my mom's house. She asked her what her name was. She gave her information, the phone number for the agency and the agency's name that she was going to call. She asked me to take her upstairs to show her the baby's room, which I
Courtney,
did.
can I just
Took her
stop you one
upstairs.
second? Can I
Yep,
stop you 1 second, sweetheart? When they actually came to your house, were you under the impression that you did not have to let them in, or you were unaware?
I was unaware. It was just a surprise. They never gave us a warning or a call that they were coming.
Did they tell you after you gave birth in the hospital? Did a social worker come and speak to you then?
They're just going to say that they were going to call, but
Nobody
usually
came.
I didn't know that they were really going to do it and stuff after me and my mother explained that I had supports, that my mother's going to help me with my son. My support workers that come in my house every day to work with me for about 4 to 5
Brittany,
hours.
sorry to interrupt you, but I'm helping Akima as well as you. I think a big part of this that you might want to touch base is didn't you have what in Canada you told the viewers last night is some type of nurse that comes in when the baby is already born to like check their
Yes.
weight, check their,
Healthcare nurse,
everything.
She's like a
Yes, I had
doula.
that
Yeah.
a
too.
public
Yeah,
health nurse that comes
Yeah. She's
in.
like a doula. Yeah.
but
Like a
because
respite. Yeah.
But because she ended up going to visit with the baby's father, she, I guess, missed two appointments with this nurse. And didn't you say that the nurse then was the one to call CPS and get them
CPS
involved
and
because
Yes.
Because
you
she didn't
yeah,
missed
have
these
any
two appointments?
communication. That's why, and based on her epilepsy or unclassified, seizures, they're basically saying she's medically, incompetent to parent alone. So if this person was present and you didn't give them any notification, then technically you were in the wrong for not notifying them of your change of state. That's all.
But didn't you just go to visit like for the day?
I went to visit. I did text my my worker, my public health, know that I was going away for to spend time with the father over Thanksgiving. She agreed with this, said that's fine, please message me when you're back home.
Did you
And
have any prior ACS
when I
CPS
found
history?
out by CPS that I called her back. She told me that she never called CPS. So it's a mess. I don't know who to believe and who is actually telling the truth.
None of
It's
them tell the
really
truth.
hard.
Right.
So I'm
Argument.
And as
just
Yeah.
sad
saying,
as it is, as sad as it is, because you technically have a disability yourself, and then they tried to, I think at the end of your story last night, they were trying to say something was, wrong with your son with like the little things that you had to put on his feet and everything. Meaning where
Oh,
I'm
yes,
that
going
he
with
had
this,
like a developmental delay or a
like
developmental
she had to
issue.
put boots on him or something like that. But where I'm
Right.
going with this is I could see all of this happening so fast now because of the
yeah,
fact that me and Akima have witnessed all of the
This,
corruption now for
yes.
so long that it's really sad because when I was in your position, and if I would have heard CPS, I would have thought, well, aren't they supposed to be there to protect the
To
children and look
help,
out for
yep.
the children? And it's just so sad to think that they are clearly anything but that. All they see is money. And if you have disabilities, that's more money. And it's just a whole trickling thing. And then your poor mother here, she works in a hospital. She was okay to help you take care of the baby in the beginning. But then all of a sudden, when they take the baby and now your mother's trying to fight to get the baby in her care so that it's not in,
Right.
foster or in non-relative, now all of a sudden your mother doesn't know how to put the boots on properly and doesn't know how to take care of your son. Now all of a sudden she's not good enough. It's
I have a
back and
question.
forth. And yes,
Sorry, I have a question. If you're from Canada, Canada's a province. They don't run the same as legislative law here in the United States. So if your residence was in Canada, was the child born in Canada?
yes,
So Parliament came in and basically gave you a neglect proceeding based on you taking a trip.
more likely, as I was told by CPS, I already knew they were going to be called in because the social worker that was at the IWK come in and talk to me because Courtney had a lot of health issues. Courtney takes seizures, plus she has AFib tachycardia.
Okay.
So the health nurse came in and talked to me because they had concerns regarding Courtney being by
Holding the
herself
baby. Right.
with the baby in case she takes a seizure. The hospital was quite aware that Courtney had her own apartment and that she was underneath an agency that offers in-home support because she
Basically,
lives
like
in
CDPAP
what is
here, like home
called
care here.
what is
Okay.
called independent living program for
Right.
people with disabilities.
Yes.
So they said that they probably would be calling CPS just to make sure everything is fine and come up with whatever. I said, okay, no problem. There was a CPS worker that came into my home. She introduced herself to me, who she was. Courtney's staff, with the agency that she was in, was here that day. She
Okay.
asked who the staff worker was, asked her what the name of the agency that she was working with was, their phone number, who her boss or head supervisor was. They said that they will be contacting the agency. We did tell the CPS worker that Courtney's temporary staying here, that she has her own apartment that Department of Community Services is actually paying for, and what her address was. My daughter brought her upstairs because I had a bedroom set up, a nursery for my grandson. I had
So they didn't
everything
go and
bought.
check Courtney's apartment. They didn't check her
They
apartment.
didn't go check Courtney's apartment because Courtney was temporarily staying at my house at that time. I said she's going to be staying here for a bit because after Courtney got out of the hospital, we found out that Courtney had preeclampsia, and then she
Blood
also
pressure.
contracted a really bad infection in her uterus.
So like
So she
sepsis.
really wasn't feeling good. So I was helping her with the baby. So everything seemed fine. We thought that was the end of it. And that was it. Then Courtney got back into her apartment because the landlord said her apartment was ready. So we moved her into her apartment. Her staff was going back and forth. I was going to her apartment after I get off of work to check in and see how things were going. I took the baby on my weekends when I wasn't working. Then I guess Courtney went to the father's place for a couple of weeks. I guess I don't really know. All I know is that public health nurse who was working with her went and contacted me and asked me, were you talking to Courtney? She missed 2 appointments, and apparently we were told that I guess she called CPS because she had concerns. CPS contacted Courtney, and then everything was fine, I guess. And then 2 days later, they showed up at my door with 2 different workers and the RCMP. They come in and took the baby. I asked them why they were removing the baby from this house. They would
Did
not.
they have a warrant?
They had no warrant, no nothing. They didn't tell me what grounds they were taking that baby. Nothing. I kept asking them over and over and over again. I want to know why you're removing this baby, because the baby is not in danger, he's not neglected, and he's not in abuse. So what grounds do you have to take him out of this house? And they wouldn't say nothing. They just took him out.
So when they came, okay, when you opened your door, did they come in or you let them in?
I
Because if
let
they
them
came
in.
in, that's using, okay. So you let them in.
Yeah.
Quick side note, Mr. Davis is about to come on in a couple minutes. He's just stuck on a phone call. So just when he comes
Yeah.
in, maybe you could
Yeah.
already kind of know
They
where you're going to
just
start.
Right.
they
No,
came
because
to the
I
door,
just was
knocked at
curious.
the door, and they just walked in. Said, we're here to take the baby.
And didn't you say last night that you've been asking still to this day, what
What?
are the
Yeah, she did
allegations that
Yeah,
about
you,
2
they,
and they
times.
will
they
not
keep
2
say.
times.
changing
Yeah.
it?
Now what they're saying is the first they
You don't
said
know.
when they went to court, we first went to court, I wasn't in part of the proceedings because the baby is not mine. He's only my
But you
grandson.
have grandparents' rights though, and the
Yeah,
parents
so
of
at
Canada.
first I had no saying in the court proceedings. It only had to go between my daughter and the father of the child.
You didn't have
Um,
standing permission?
no, I was just recently added to the CPS file, and the only reason why I was actually added now is because the last court hearing that we went, the judge got kind of pissed off at CPS and CPS's lawyer that's representing them. The judge asked me if I got a copy of all the court documents and the
Right.
affidavits. I said, nope, they will not give me any. And the judge said, why? I said, I don't know, but I said, I do know that there are things in the affidavit that are being said regarding me and my husband that we want to clarify. And the
There he
judge,
is, the
and
man
then
of the
the,
hour.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Davis. How are you? Sorry, Hud.
Hello.
hi.
Mr. Davis, we were kind of just having, this is a mother and daughter from Canada. They were on Bob's show last night. And so I wanted them to come on tonight because you're here, obviously, but they were just kind of killing time and, telling their story for viewers that didn't see it yesterday. So do you maybe want them to recap a little bit before maybe they ask you a question or two?
No, they can go ahead, or they can just ask me the question. But
Okay.
we've gone international to Canada.
Yes, we have.
We're going all across treacherous waters with this.
Well, how about this? How did you guys find Mr. Davis's platform? Just searching or?
I found it on Facebook. I was trying
And
to
how?
I was just
Go ahead.
searching how to fight CPS, how to win my case, ideas, what I need to
Right there,
do
how
in the
to fight
process for
CPS and
the
win, Mr. Davis.
Right.
and I
Yeah.
found it and I started watching some of your guys is live and I thought, you know what, maybe I should give it a try.
Okay. Well, what questions do you guys have for me?
What is the best route? Because right now CPS is pushing for adoption. And they're using every dirty technique they can. They are constantly lying about us. Right now, my grandson, he does have bilateral club feet. Right now, what they are doing is they are stipulating that the reason why they don't want me and my husband to get my grandson is because we do not know how to properly put his boots and bars on, and that we are causing him to have severe issues with his feet, causing him to have blisters all the time, and we caused him to have nerve damage in his feet, which we don't.
He doesn't see an orthopedist?
He
Orthopedic
does
specialist?
go, yeah, he does go back and forth to the IWK, which is a children's hospital in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Um, we were told, me and my daughter Courtney were told by his surgeon that deals with him that they had issues with the foster family. My grandson had to have surgery before casting on the back of his tendons, and they had to cut them and stretch them. Then they cast him. He was in cast for about a couple of months. The doctor told us that a couple of times that the foster mother had to take him back and forth to the IWK because the cast kept falling off because she didn't know how to hold him properly. And then once they started putting the boots and bars on, they had issues.
Hold
Yep.
on. We went from asking me a question
Yeah.
to
I
now
just
I'm
told
going to
them
get
that.
Sorry about that.
the Iliad and
How
Odyssey
about we start with this real quick to
version
help
of the
you?
story.
How about you ask him this to start with? Number one, she said they didn't have a warrant when they removed the baby. And number two, they
Yes.
still to this day have not given her any allegations as to
Okay, well,
why they took the baby.
hold on a second. Because I am an attorney in the state of California within the United States. And I deal with the laws of California and the United States Constitution. I don't want you guys to ever think that a foreign country has the same laws and the same protections.
We spoke about that too in the beginning. I told them that.
Now,
Provinces are
until
part of the
President Trump
United States
makes
as well.
Canada a state, we can't talk like, I can't answer those questions as if I was in Canada.
Parliament is different from judicial government all the way.
But I can answer them as if you were in California. And if you want me to do that, I can do that. I don't know how much it will help you.
Okay.
But in California, you can't take a kid unless, number one,
Yep.
you have a warrant or court order. Or number two,
Circumstance.
the social worker sees for herself or himself that it's an emergency, life or death kind of thing. So I don't know if that's the law in California, but I mean in Canada, but that's the law here in California and in most states in our country. So,
What province are you guys from?
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
Do you guys have a lawyer?
Yes, we do.
I do.
Okay, have you asked that lawyer, do they require a warrant to take the child?
My lawyer told me that I didn't have to let them in my door.
Okay,
I
well
should have asked them to come back with a warrant.
Okay, so that's not the answer to my question.
Yeah.
My question is, did the lawyer tell you that they needed a warrant to take your child? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Then it's just like California. Now, in California, if they take your child and don't have a warrant, guess what? That doesn't help you in the CPS case. It helps you in a federal court if you want to sue them for violation of your Fourth Amendment, but it doesn't help you in the CPS case at all.
Okay.
Because the CPS case doesn't deal with violations of your constitutional rights for money damages. You would think that you might get the case dismissed because they violated your constitutional rights. No such thing here in California. So if it's like that in Canada, you're out of luck. You're going to have to sue them. And I don't know if you can sue them in the same case or not in Canada. If you were in California, you couldn't do that. Okay?
Okay.
So you're not going to get any traction. If you were in California, you wouldn't get any traction there. Okay.
Do they have reunification services there? Do you know of?
I don't.
So they're already going straight to like wanting to adopt, even though he's only a year old, I think you said?
Yes. That's what we were told in the court documents. They are pushing for adoption. They don't think my daughter is capable of raising her son. And now they're using every technique for us not to get him. So they're going to use that we do not know how to put his boots and bars on property.
Okay, well, hold on, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look, how long ago did this happen?
About a year ago.
About a year. He was taken.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking, Mr. Davis. Don't they have like a concurrent plan for? Don't they make concurrent planning on the day?
You're assuming that the laws are the same, and that's a bad mistake.
Right, you're right. I forgot.
Concurrent planning, that's a federal U.S. thing.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a Providence thing.
So listen, the fact that they're using boots and bars, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Now, do they do that in Canada? I don't know. Maybe. But
did they have something like the ADA in Canada?
But you should, these are things that you should really be talking to a Canadian lawyer about.
Okay.
Have you talked to a Canadian lawyer about this?
I haven't really talked to my lawyer yet because I recently just got my lawyer. And CPS knows that even though I work, I don't make enough to hire a lawyer.
Okay, Shauna, look.
Yep.
Because this happens a lot in California, and I see this a lot. This child probably, I'm going to guess, is the most important thing to you guys in life. But, a lot of people wait to get the lawyer because they think that their government is going to do the right thing. That's the biggest mistake ever.
Yeah.
You know what? People call me all the time and say, "Hey, man, I spoke to you 2 years ago, and I should have hired you because I lost my kid, and I was waiting, for the social worker and the judge to do the right thing." It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen unless you're talking and citing the right laws and using the right evidence.
Okay.
Social workers have their own agendas. All right. It's not your agenda. Right? There's so many things going on behind the scenes that you don't realize and you don't know about. Okay?
Okay.
So many things. And you just think people are going to be fair. Judges decide disputed issues of law and fact. And if you don't know what evidence to put in or what law to argue, they're not going to help you.
Yep.
That's not their job.
No.
It's not their job to do the right thing based upon the circumstances. Many, many, many centuries ago, when our countries first started, there was always an argument about whether the judiciary, the judges, should be active or not. In other words, should the judge jump in and decide what is fair, even if the attorneys or the parties don't know what they're doing? Right?
Yes.
Well, should they? Because there's a lot of people say they shouldn't. A lot of people say they should. A lot of people say they should.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's one of the burning questions in our judicial system. Whether you have an activist judge or not an activist judge. Look at our current United States Supreme Court. There are 9 judges on the United States Supreme Court, and they're all different. They're not the same. The highest judges in our country, and they're all different. And sometimes the Supreme Court says abortion's legal. And sometimes they say it's not legal. How does that happen? Isn't the law the law?
Mhm.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
And you think that some CPS judge is going to be the same all the time?
No.
No, it doesn't work that way. That's why you need a good attorney. That's why if this kid is the most important thing, you can't take any chances.
No.
No chances. Many years ago, a couple decades ago, I was talking to a guy about the case, and he says, I can't afford to hire you. And I said, I'm sorry. He says, look, I'm going to call you back in a couple days. I'm going to go rob a bank. And I said, hey, man, wait a minute. Hold on.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
So you definitely won't get your kid back. You did
You'll
that.
need me for a criminal case too,
Right.
then,
Right. Don't do that.
Mm.
And here's the sad thing. He was serious.
Yeah.
People do anything for their children, Mr. Davis. You know that.
Right.
And that's true.
But I mean, that's how serious he took it.
Mhm.
But I meet a lot of people that, they're not even close to being that serious. They're just going to wait and wait and wait and see if this activist judge is going to do the right thing. I tell people this all the time. On my YouTube channel, I have a video where I'm standing in front of a whiteboard, and I think the name of the video is "What is Justice?" I can tell you right now that what you believe justice is, you're about 95% wrong. You're about 5% right. But you know how we are as people. If we think something and we're 5% right, we think we're 100% right.
Okay.
So you go into court being 5% right, thinking you're 100% right, and you make decisions about the law, you make decisions about your case, you make decisions about what attorney you're going to have. And then when you come out of court and you lose, you scratch your head and you tell me, oh, the system is corrupt. Oh, the judge was corrupt. And
No,
that's
it's
not
that
it.
you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah, that's not it at all. You just didn't know what you were doing. You didn't know the procedural laws. You didn't know the evidentiary laws. Look, I'm going to tell you a recent case I appeared in, very recent. And I was in a negotiation to settle the case with the social worker's attorney. And the social worker's attorney told me something about the law. And she even cited some statutes as if to back her up. And I didn't laugh at her, but I was chuckling to myself, thinking, and this isn't the first time that these people have tried to pull this on me in other courtrooms. And I was thinking that they must have been trained to do this. And I think when they use these legal arguments on attorneys, that a lot of attorneys just say, oh, okay, you must be right. Well, I retorted to the attorney, well, that's not the law. And by the way, did you consider these facts, A, B, C, D?
Right.
Then there's a period of silence for about 10 seconds. Like, oh my God, the jig is up. What do I do? He caught us. Right? And then they have to give in to me in the negotiation. And afterwards, I was thinking, they must do this to a lot of attorneys that just don't know.
Yeah.
Or don't care. Right? And I was thinking maybe I should do a video or a newsletter and send it out to all of these attorneys. So
They
that
wouldn't care.
so that they'll know, don't fall for this trick. I see this trick being used over and over on me. They're trying to use and I'm thinking, why do you keep using this same trick? It's not working.
I think because, like Ms. G said, Mr. Davis, when you're in the courtroom, you're always quiet, calm, collective, and then you wait for that last minute and you're like, boom.
Trying to insult you, Mr. Davis. I told you they always try to bring it back to the.
Well, it's almost come to the point. Maybe I shouldn't feel this way. I feel it's almost insulting.
That's what I said. They take your kind.
But you're playing the game better than them, so really you're not. So don't think it that way.
Boss, Mr. Davis, you're a boss. You move in silence. That's how it goes.
So, Courtney and Shauna, this is what I'm going to suggest you do.
Okay.
No, you don't have to write it down because this is going to be on the internet on these platforms forever. Okay. Just listen. Okay. When I went to something called the Trial Lawyers College years ago, and it was run by Jerry Spence. And I got lucky. I was in, we broke into small groups for half of the time. Other half, we were in one big group. But I was in Jerry Spence's group, his small group of about 8 people. And one of the things I learned, which I didn't know at the time, but I learned at the college, was listening is probably the most important thing you can do, especially in a case.
Yep.
And Jerry taught something called active listening. And you might want to Google it because it is a thing. It's a real thing. So listen to what I'm going to tell you. Don't write it down.
Okay.
Number 1, you have to make an appointment to see or talk to your attorney, either in person or on Zoom. Don't do it on the phone. Okay. Communication is 85% nonverbal. When you're on the phone, you're limited to verbal almost. Okay. So try to meet with him or her in person or Zoom, like, like we're doing now.
Okay.
Ask him, or is it a him or her?
It's a her.
Okay. Ask her to develop a strategy for you at this point in the case to get the kids back.
Okay.
Now, this is very important. I want to give you an example. Right before I came on the show, about an hour ago, a lady calls me and she launches into the story. Okay. And I was really interested in the story. And she's starting the story from the beginning of the case. And I'm thinking of all the things I can do to help her. And then I realize, 30 minutes into the story, her case is almost 18 months old, which means everything she told me is moot. She and I just wasted 30 minutes.
Okay.
Now, watch this. A CPS case is divided up into different modules on the timeline. At every module, there is a different legal standard. There is a different burden of proof. So if you lose module 1 or 2 or 3, and you're now in module 5, unless you appealed and won module 1, 2, or 3, what happened and how you got screwed over in module 1, 2, or 3 doesn't matter. I'm sorry to say, it doesn't matter. You got to focus on module 5 and figure out what the test is, what evidence you need, and what strategy you need to win module 5.
Okay.
Okay? So don't, here it didn't get this far because I stopped it. But you guys started telling me the story about what happened at the beginning of the case. You got a case that's a year old. Unless you appealed and won the appeal, what happened at the beginning of the case is just interesting.
Okay.
It's just interesting. It's cocktail talk. If you want to know how to get your kid back, we're not going to talk about what happened at the beginning of the case. Okay? Now, there's 2 caveats, exceptions to what I just told you. Number 1, we're going to talk about what happened at the beginning of the case if you are going to hire me to sue them for civil rights violations.
Right.
Then that becomes important. But if you're
But
if you're going to hire me to get the kid back, not important.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Davis?
No, hold on.
Okay.
Number 2, save the question. Number 2, what happens at the beginning of the case is important if you're going to hire me to file some type of motion, like a writ of quantum nobis, to go back and correct what happened at the beginning of the case. Okay? Now, that writ, low probability of success, very expensive. Okay? I don't even talk to people about doing that because most people I talk to don't have a tree with money on it.
No.
Okay? So we're not going to talk about that. Okay? So what I would suggest is you focus on the module you're on, find out what tests and legal standards and evidentiary burdens are going to be applicable, and what exceptions and what you can do to stop that freight train of adoption.
Okay.
If you were in California, you could do this. You could file a motion for a bonding study. You can file a 388 petition. Every relative and friend in the family could file a 388 and a de facto motion to try to get the kid placed with them. You can file, we have something called a 361.3 placement motion, placement for relatives. You could possibly file. I actually know an attorney that did this in another state that had a statute similar to California's 309 statute, filed a lawsuit against the county for not placing the kid with a relative. You can also file, and we've talked about this on many shows, a complaint with the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division for not placing the child with you. And just so you know, I actually know of a case where a child was adopted out. The grandmother filed a complaint with DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, and the Justice Department, Civil Rights Division, and the two complaints were combined, federal agency, joint investigation. The kid had been adopted to the foster parents, already adopted, case closed. They did the investigation. They hired a world famous social worker to do the investigation, to evaluate what this particular county had done. And they found that the county violated the law in so many ways. And they told the county, okay, well, kid's been adopted. Well, you violated. Guess what? We're going to cut off your funding.
Oh, you could have the kid back.
Guess who got the kid back?
The parents.
The parent.
Now, let's say that county had a $2 billion budget. They took the kid, gave it back to the grandmother and the mother, and then the foster parents sued them. And they only had to pay like $5 million. $2 billion versus $5 million. Every day.
With that L, yep.
Every day they'll take that loss.
Yep.
You get it?
Yep.
Okay. So getting back
Demand.
to your case, Shauna and Courtney, you got to come up with a plan. You got to learn what the parameters are, what you can do. Because if I ask you right now, I would bet $1, you couldn't tell me what statutes can apply, what the exceptions are, what the defenses are, and what you can do to stop this adoption train. You wouldn't know.
No.
Right.
What about the father, the baby's father? He was never an option for placement?
No. Right now, CPS is not looking at him due
Of
to
course.
violence.
Well, they're not going to look at any family member for that matter then, because they want it to go.
Well, one of the things that you should consider, is the father has relatives.
Not to be disrespectful, does the father have a disability as well?
No.
No.
Okay.
But he has relatives.
Right.
One of the things that I do, and it's funny because this has been adopted by a few other attorneys. I have my clients sometimes make a list of 25 relatives and friends. And I give that list to the social worker and say, here's some relatives and friends that want the kid.
They can be anywhere in the world, Mr. Davis says. Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
Like another country.
And if you were in California, if your case was in California, that grandma Shauna, who they didn't like, and versus placing the kid over in Switzerland, Shauna all of a sudden becomes, she's fine. We'll give her classes on those shoes and bars.
Boots and bars. It's not funny, but it is.
You know why? Because the money follows the kid.
Yep.
They don't want the money to go to Switzerland.
They can't follow
California.
So make that list. Give it to your social worker.
That's what I'm thinking.
If I were you, I would make the list and ask your attorney, can this help you? Because if Canada's laws are mirrored in any way, with American laws, that list could be very important, but we don't know until you talk to your attorney.
Lawyers.
Yeah.
Well, Courtney, you said you have like homemaking services. You have somebody that comes in and
Yes.
helps you out around the house. Can you get a service like that for your child as well? Do they have services like that in Canada for
I
the
can
child?
probably talk to my DCS worker through community service and see what they can do with the child.
Okay.
Talk to my caseworker through Department of DCS.
But is that the same caseworker for CPS? Because we're thinking a
No,
Right.
caseworker
CPS and
for.
Yeah, I was
DCS.
gonna say the same
CPS
thing,
and
Deidre. Like,
DCS is
Oh,
different.
okay. I was gonna say they ain't gonna give me one.
so
No.
do they have like a parent advocacy, number or location where you as a parent can reach out when you have these problems like we have in here in the United States?
We have ADA, yeah.
No,
Do they
we
have
have
something
also
there?
the parent, the CPS parent
But
advocacy.
because of their disabilities, that's why I was saying they could
Right,
contact the
the
ADA
ADA,
and
the
get help.
You have the ACLU as well.
In Canada?
No, in Canada they have a civil rights liberty union everywhere in all 7 continents. That
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember Bob saying that on his show.
Bob said it last night. It's like a C something A,
Yes, that's
CDA or
what I
something.
remember him saying it. And I've been with Bob like 15 years now. So
Mr.
Okay.
Davis, they had an attorney, but was your attorney court appointed, or did you privately hire this attorney?
I
Um,
hired my attorney right away. That CPS gave me 5 days to get an attorney. I got
and
one through
see,
legal aid.
so
I
they
got
don't
one at
qualify,
first
they
through
don't give you
legal
one?
aid, but she wasn't helping, so I fired her. So I got a lawyer out of legal aid.
Got it.
and
Remember what? Go
yeah,
ahead.
and I was just recently added to the CPS file. I wasn't part of it. And then once they placed them, that's when they told me to put a plan in place, which I did. And now I'm seeking for full custody of my grandson. So I applied for a legal aid because where I don't make enough for an attorney. I was denied, and then I fought it and I won my appeal. So I hired a lawyer outside of legal aid, and I got a really good lawyer, but I haven't really spoken to her yet regarding this
So how do you know
because
she's
our
really good?
trial, I think apparently our trial's coming up on March the 17th and the 20th. It's a 2-day trial.
You got to
And
make
Miss
sure that it's a CPS lawyer, though, like Mr. Davis always says.
Did you
she
did you
is a
check her
CPS
stats? Did you
lawyer.
look at
She
her
deals with
scores?
CPS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you found somebody.
Yeah.
It's nobody like
But
Mr.
your
Davis
trial's
that's
coming up soon, you
so
said?
good.
When is
It's
the next court date?
we have a phone conference court case on February the 20th to go over everything. And then the trial date is March the 17th and the 20th. This is the trial. This is where we'll know either I get custody or they're going to put him up for adoption.
So that's the final say. You guys don't have like a what is it called? Like what is it like I
It's
know we
already
have
been a year, though.
right,
Yeah.
That's why I asked if they had reunification services, but it
right.
isn't there, and they don't.
Like a fact finding or 1028 or an appeal to the TPR. Like do you have anything like that there?
We had a case before that, which was a settlement case, and we
That's
couldn't come
why.
up with a settlement.
That's why, because you guys settled before, so it gives you prior history. So now that's the reason why they felt like it
Yeah.
was okay to come in and steal your child.
Yeah.
What do you mean by you had a case before? Like you have another
She
grandchild
said
or
they had
something?
settlement, so
No,
they
we
had
had a
Settlement
settlement trial before
right.
the main trial. We sat down with the judge and the CPS worker and their lawyer to come up with some type of settlement, and
And could
CPS was
not.
budging. They
What's that,
want,
Mr. Davis?
yeah, and I really think that the foster parents want to adopt him.
Well, I'm sure they do, but what do they mean by settlement, Mr. Davis? What is that? Money or kid?
Instead of having a trial, they try to make you
Mediation.
mediation.
Yeah.
They try to settle it.
Oh.
You know.
Like parents are just going to say, okay, fine, you can have my kid.
Yes.
No, they want you to
Sometimes
sit
they
in a
say,
room and come up with bullet points to try to, give them what they're already asking for and make you kind of, put your back against the wall type thing. Is that the right way, Mr. Davis?
yeah, and the carrot that they will hold in front of you is, oh, we'll give you visitation once a
Yep.
month or once every 6 months after we adopt them.
Oh, then they did do that to me because they started out with saying once a year, and I said no to either or. And then they came back and said, well, they thought about it and they let you see him 3 to 4 times a year. And I said, no, I'm still not going to do it. Are you
And then
like
they took
plea
them.
bargaining with me with my child? That's what I felt
Right.
like.
Yeah.
Like
So I
they
guess
think
I did
you're
have a
taking
settlement.
jewelry or something. Yep.
Yeah, well, I still lost either way at the end of the day. So
Can I ask
Yeah.
you
Mr.
a
Davis
question,
wasn't
Mr.
there.
Davis?
They just didn't want to budge on anything. The court judge that was dealt with that day, he granted us to have 3-day visits in our home again because we were getting them in my home. Everything was going fine because we were supposed to get custody of him back on January the 20th. And I knew something was off because we had him all through the summer, every single day visiting. We did things with him, everything else. 2 days, well, actually a couple of days before that hearing, CPS got the foster mother to send his boots and bars with them. And all of a sudden they said we put his boots and bars on wrong and we caused him to get blisters. Well, my grandson already had blisters on his feet.
So they don't have a nurse that comes in and helps you guys,
No,
train you guys to
no,
do these
no,
things.
no. And all of a sudden they pulled my grandson out of our home. They stopped our in-home visits. They just pulled him out.
How do the foster parents know how to put him on properly?
That's
What if
what
they're
I'm
giving him the
saying.
bruises?
We don't know.
No,
So
She
if
could
they
be the
don't
one giving the
train, they're not training
blisters to the
anybody.
child.
I'm confused. If they don't have any training, if they don't bring anybody in to show you or give you a diagram or instructions on how to properly, you know, put these devices on,
yeah,
then how do they expect you as the parent with a
yeah.
newly,
Well,
a new
we
child
did
with a
go
new
one
injury?
day. Me and my husband went to the IWK with one CPS worker for training.
So they were
Um,
where?
at the IWK hospital. The nurse that deals with my grandson, she literally put one boot on. She put the boot on.
So she didn't give you a
So it
chance
really,
to
really, really
re-implement
wasn't
that.
training. It was only 15 minutes. She showed me and my husband how to put the boot on, and that was it. She did tell us that, and she did made it quite clear when we first went in for that training. She told me specifically with the CPS worker standing there and my husband that, Carson is prone to getting severe blisters on his feet, that we have issues with the foster parents with the boots causing them to have blisters.
That's what I mean. Foster parents did it.
Yeah, so she told us that when you're putting the boots on, you have to put some stuff on. She didn't tell us that we were supposed to put them on with the boots. She just said, to prevent blisters, we recommend to put on some
Vaseline.
bioderm stuff on the back of his feet.
Hmm.
I
Can
said,
I
okay,
ask one
no
more question,
problem. Yeah.
Shanna? If do you guys have like in Canada? I know in America we have parental rights. Do you guys have those same things there? If the child is not, even though the child is placed in foster care, you
Yeah.
still have parental rights if that
Yes,
is a
I do.
thing in the
Yes,
province of
she
Canada.
does. Yes,
It
her
has been
parental
So
right
then
is
she
stipulated,
should be
not
informed of all
taken.
medical things, all
Yeah.
but I'm
changes, all
not.
appointments. You haven't been notified?
No.
Nope, they won't tell us, and they're supposed to.
Yes, they are.
Her parental rights has not been stripped yet. And the only time we get to know anything about Carson is when she goes to see her family doctor. CPS will not tell us anything, only when they feel like telling us something.
Are you proactive? Do you step forward and make these, suggestions or, inquiries or concerns? Do you guys, as the parent and grandparent, do you step up and say, listen, my child is this, being that my child has a disability? These are the things that I would suggest. And if not, you need to, like Mr. Davis said, refer to your counsel.
Yep. And
Because
now they're
yeah.
saying another reason why they don't want me to have Carson is because of my daughter. because Courtney has health issues and they think that she needs
That's
me all the time.
discrimination.
It's just stupid the way they're doing it. I never heard tell of it. To me, they stole them. They actually
Yeah, they
just
kidnap
stole
them. That's
my
what they do.
grandson for no reason. Yes,
For
okay, my
money.
daughter has a learning disability. There are a million peoples in this world, all around the world, that have a disability. I'm sorry, does not mean that they can't
You
parent.
cannot parent safely, but you know what it
And
means to them. This is
They'll
how
get
they're
more
looking
money
at
for the
us as the
disability.
disabled.
yeah,
They're
and
looking. Because
now
I will
he
say
has a
myself too. I'm
disability.
disabled as well, but I'll say like as a community as a whole, just speaking in general as people. When you are disabled, they scrutinize things and basically because social gives social stipulations are put on us as the disabled, it makes it seem like that we are unable to parent safely or in a healthy manner just because we may not do it like somebody else,
Yeah,
because society puts that stereotype on us as the disabled.
yeah,
So speaking as one person to the other, you have to be proactive. You have to be the voice for your child. You have to advocate. And the way you advocate is through your counsel. Just like Mr. Davis said, you have to talk to your legal counsel. And being that it's been this long in the case and you guys are already down to TPR, then you have to jump on that. It's limited time. You have 32 days in the province of Canada. I just looked it up.
yeah.
But wait, you've been doing this whole case with no attorney whatsoever for either one of
Right.
you?
Courtney has had a lawyer all along. It's just that I didn't have a lawyer because I wasn't allowed to be part at first when he was taken into care. I wasn't allowed to have any part of the trial, the proceedings at all. I wasn't even allowed to really even join the proceedings.
What
It's
was the
just
reason? What was the
recently
reason you didn't have standing? What was that? What reason did
they
they give you?
just said it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with Courtney and the father. And that was it.
But
At
shouldn't they have seeked her out for placement, Mr. Davis, right in the
That's what
beginning?
I was thinking too. But Canada's different, like he said, Deidre. It's a province and not a like legislative law. It's
But
the
like when they're
province
looking for placement, they're just going to immediately go to foster and not look at any
because
relatives?
they're looking at her as being disabled and the father having a criminal background from what
No,
I
I'm talking about the
understand.
grandma.
Oh, well, maybe they're trying to. I don't know how it works in Canada, but here, if you're not RFA approved, they try to pull that one too. So, even if you do have grandparents' rights, they still try to make you jump through hoops because you don't have this, or you don't have this, or you came too late, or you know how that goes. So I'm
Well,
not
Mr.
sure.
Davis, you've given your advice. Sometimes you say things like, if their attorney would like to speak with you sometimes, do you offer
Yeah,
that?
I don't mind. I don't mind speaking to that attorney if you want to have your either or. I
Okay.
can
Yeah.
maybe give them some ideas that may or may not work in Canada.
I
Because
want them to
speaking from
hear
a
what you
mother
guys
that,
give back.
ended up losing my rights to my youngest, which wasn't even alive when my case started, as sad as that is. But if I would have found Mr. Davis way in the beginning, I might have that child in my life. But they do it. So
I completed
from
fact
one
finding
mother
today. Let me put
to,
that out there. I wanted to just say that. My fact finding trial is over. I'm just waiting for a decision. So
Okay.
that's a plus, for somebody. So
but no, get with your attorney, like Mr. Davis said, and hopefully then maybe Mr. Davis can help you more that way.
Okay. So
Mr. Davis, do you want to say anything else with them, or do you guys have any other
No,
last minute questions?
no. They can get in touch with me. You see that number? Is the number on the screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's on the bottom right hand corner.
888
yes.
888 6582.
Okay. So, okay.
Do the courts in Canada have do they have dispositional here, the detention hearing and the disposition and adjudication? Do they have those things too in the
I
courtroom?
believe. Yeah, I believe they do.
And they're past all those modules, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If they're at TPR.
If they're up to TPR, they're like what, module 6, right, Mr. Davis?
Right.
Well, we're about at that time. So,
Sidebar, I finished my complete fact-finding trial. I'm getting, hopefully, my visits reinstated based under perjury and malice that is not covered by qualified immunity. Thank you, Mr. Davis. And I am just going to keep reading my delivered service logs and the social worker's notes until we go back to court March 17th.
Very good. I wish you the best. Hey,
Thank
you know,
Okay.
did somebody invite Kimberly Eschman on the show?
She was on Bob's show last week
Tonight?
too.
Because she said
She
in the
wanted to come
comments
in.
that she wanted to come in, or was writing as if we asked her to come in.
I
Well,
didn't. So if it was
Bob
Grace.
did yesterday. Said, being that Akima has her
Oh,
own
because
schedule.
Bob didn't understand what I said about Mr. Davis will actually be on the show. So he thought it was like I was doing my show like he does his, where he has people call in on the phone sometimes, or he'll just, talk to them
That's
throughout the
something.
comments and stuff. But so maybe he misunderstood. But no, I told Courtney and Shauna to actually come on the show tonight because I knew you were coming on.
Well, let me tell Kimberly. Kimberly, if you want to be on the show,
Next Wednesday.
Email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And then there was somebody else, the True Royal Family. She says, I'm a grandmother and I need help. If
Is
you
that
want
the
to,
one from Kansas?
I don't know. If you want to call me at 888-888-6582, go ahead and call us. Or if you want to be on the show, email Grace.
What happened every day with Miss Jeannie? Not committed yet?
Email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. All right.
Maybe next Wednesday.
Well, I wish you Canadians the best of luck.
Thank you.
So do
We're
I.
going to definitely need it because this is going to be a fight, and I'm going to fight with every strength I have.
As you should. Do not give up. Innocence is pure. So keep fighting. We have to pass the message.
Chew Baby Chew Baby just asked, so is Vince here to listen or actually give advice? Chew Baby, I'm here to listen and give advice.
True baby.
If you want advice, there's a retainer involved with that.
No, Chew Baby.
I think she was actively listening kind of joke.
If Chew Baby wants to come on the show when I'm on it, I will actually give her or him advice. But Chew Baby, you have to call Grace, or you have to email Grace.
You have to change your name.
Right.
You have to email Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and she'll put you on the show when when I'm going to be on the show. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Next Wednesday, Mr. Davis. Next Wednesday.
Don't be greedy, Deidre. Don't be greedy. We got to take it in stride. That's two times.
All right,
ladies. In less than a month.
Bye-bye.
Don't be greedy.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Be safe.